They tried to charge me $4,700 for Christmas lights. Not damaged property. Not landscaping violations. Just lights. The kicker? I design citywide holiday light shows for a living. But that didn't matter to the HOA. Because this wasn't about brightness. It was about control. I moved into Red Pine Estates 4 years ago. Nice homes. Tall pines. Retired colonels and granite countertops everywhere. My kind of quiet. I bought the last house in Phase 2. A corner lot, perfect for the kind of architectural lighting I do professionally. Nothing wild, just elegant, sequenced LEDs. My front yard was more tasteful than Times Square on a Sunday. But that first December, I got my first citation. Excessive lumens violating neighborhood visual harmony. That's not a joke. That's a real quote. I thought it was a mistake. A neighbor misunderstanding. So I knocked on doors, cookies in hand, figuring we'd talk it out. Then I found out no one else had complained. Except Greg. Board president. Retired dentist. Wore compression socks with Crocs. Your lights disrupt migratory patterns, he told me. Of what, Greg? Santa's reindeer? His expression didn't change. I took down the rooftop snowflakes. Left the rest. Next morning, $250 fine. That's when I realized, this wasn't about lights. This was about me. And Greg? Greg was just getting started. Next week, flyers show up. Mailboxes and windshields. Is our neighborhood becoming a circus? They featured a grainy photo of my house, heavily saturated, like it was about to explode. Underneath, city contractor profits while homeowners suffer. I'd never mentioned my job to the board. Someone dug. Then an anonymous email blast goes out claiming I used HOA funds to buy equipment for a private light empire. Total fabrication. I don't even own a snow machine. Knowledge nugget number 1, HOAs can send community-wide emails but must include an opt-out link, report violations to your state's Consumer Affairs Division. Turns out, Greg wasn't working alone. At the next board meeting, I brought receipts, tax statements, invoices, even a letter from my city manager confirming no overlap between city contracts and my property. Greg sat there, silent. Until Marcia, board treasurer, spoke up. This isn't just about Christmas, she said. You're disrupting the aesthetic legacy of Red Pine. I said, is that written somewhere? She pulled out a page labeled Architectural Covenant Addendum. It wasn't in the official bylaws. That's when it clicked, they were making it up. I submitted a formal records request. HOAs have to provide meeting minutes and budget breakdowns if asked in writing. They stalled. Then claimed files were lost in a digital migration. So I started looking deeper. And that's when I found the Winter Fund. An off-book reserve in the HOA's financials labeled only seasonal enforcement. Roughly $11,000 in discretionary spending, with no vendor receipts. Guess who authorized it? Greg. And guess who billed the HOA $2,100 last year for light pollution testing? Greg's nephew. A guy who works at a vape shop in Tucson. Knowledge nugget number 2, HOAs must disclose all disbursements during annual reports. Failure to do so may constitute fraud under state nonprofit codes. I compiled everything. Filed a whistleblower complaint with the Attorney General's HOA fraud unit. Then I called the IRS. And the EPA. See, one of their bogus claims was that my lighting violated environmental ordinances. I asked the EPA to confirm if any protected wildlife patterns intersected with Red Pine. They laughed. Literally. There's no wetland, no protected bird species. No nothing. But here's the thing, citing the EPA without a formal study. That's impersonating a federal authority. Which gets real interesting, when you're using that fake claim to collect money. One night, a guy followed me home from work. Sat in a sedan 2 houses down. I got out of my truck and walked toward him. He sped off. Next day, I got an anonymous letter in my mailbox. Take down the lights, or we'll escalate. No return address. But it was printed on HOA letterhead. Screenshot this clause and tag a friend who needs HOA armor. If an HOA enforces a rule inconsistently or without transparency, homeowners may have legal standing to invalidate the fine. Time for war. I filed an injunction. Use state HOA code to subpoena meeting records. My lawyer submitted a cease and desist against Greg, citing harassment and misrepresentation. Then I got louder. Started a Facebook group, Red Pine Watchdogs. Within a week, I had 42 members. Turned out, I wasn't the only one targeted. A woman named Sheila had been fined for unpermitted festive music during a baby shower. Another guy got cited for unauthorized seasonal door decor. This was a pattern. Greg and his cronies were weaponizing aesthetics. We filed a class action. Media picked it up. Local paper ran a headline, HOA Grinches accused of holiday harassment. That's when Greg snapped. He called a special meeting. Declared my lighting a public nuisance. Tried to push an emergency vote to foreclose on my home. The room erupted. Half the board walked out. Marcia screamed that Greg had falsified voting tallies last year. We had it all on video. Police arrived. Not for me. For Greg. Turns out, the IRS found discrepancies in the HOA's tax filings going back 3 years. Knowledge nugget number 3, HOA board members can be held personally liable for misuse of funds, especially if fraud is proven. Greg was arrested on site. Charged with embezzlement, wire fraud, and impersonating a federal authority. The HOA was placed under state audit. A court-appointed trustee dissolved the winter fund. Marcia resigned. Sheila was elected interim president. We rewrote the bylaws. Clarified lighting allowances. Implemented community votes for aesthetic changes. I was asked to design the new neighborhood holiday show. Did it for free. Even lit up Greg's old house with a glittering sign, Peace on Earth. The moral? Bullies hate brightness. Because it reveals things. That $4,700 fine. Dismissed with prejudice. Greg? Facing up to 6 years. My lights? Still on. But last week, I got another letter. No stamp. No address. Just a handwritten note. Next December won't be so merry. Same stationery. Same tone. Next week, the city that tried to steal a solar farm.